Hello, beautiful people. Today I'm bringing you some Zhong Kui gameplay from Smite 1 and some predictions about the character, where I think Hi-Rez will take him in Smite 2 when he is ported over. Um, at first, I never liked this character, to be honest, but over time he grew on me. He is mostly known for his auto attack speed build, even in Smite 1, and I think that is where his focus will be in Smite 2, because building him as a pure mage just does not work. And in this build, I try to find the middle ground where he is still a mage, but you have like a lot of damage with auto attack. Then that is using Bancroft Glyph, which is something I miss from Smite 1 and I wish they would bring to Smite 2. Glyphs. The topic of glyphs in the sense that in Smite 1 it was Hi-Rez's way of making the game more interesting by giving old items new passives that would essentially make the game feel more interesting than the stale regular item. And Bancroft Talon is one of those items with glyphs. Another one was Breastplate of Valor, and I believe the yellow version of the glyph, Determination, Breastplate of Determination, at some point in the game in Smite 1 was very broken because people went this famous bubble build where you would go a bunch of lifesteal at the start of the game and you would be damn near unkillable, and I missed that. It was the height of Smite 1 in my opinion, because as a mage you would still be tanky, have a lot of cooldown, and do a lot of damage. If you check my videos, you will see that I ran it on Zeus. I also ran it on Zhong Kui. I have also ran a bunch of tank builds on Zhong Kui because at some point his passive was really good where you got a lot of protections just for having a full bag of minions. And he got nerfed a few times because this passive was abused in the SPL, which is another thing about Smite 1 and Smite in general that I don't like. A lot of their changes are based off of what's happening in the SPL, and let's be honest, pro players ruin certain things for regular players. Like, I love doing that on Zhong Kui, but because they abuse it in the SPL, it just got nerfed to the point where, like, people started running auto attack builds. And I'm like, this character used to be so much better when he was tanky and an actual mage. But it is what it is. No negativity. Let's focus on the positive and the facts. The facts is they did nerf it because it was used in the SPL. Now in this video, I am rushing Book of Thoth because I'm trying to get to full stacks as soon as possible. The goal of this was to get as much damage. Janus missed. Janus is another character I'm excited to see in Smite 2, and I think he will be broken in the Conquest map. He will not be very fun in Arena because the walls are to the sides, so all he would do is put a portal on the floor and hopefully catch someone. It's like fishing. You get someone to fall into the portal and you drop your 2, which kind of makes the character limited if he's not in Conquest map. So maybe they'll have like an aspect where his 1 does something else, so that way he is more fun in other modes. But this video is not about Janus, it is about Zhong Kui. My predictions for Zhong Kui: essentially, he will be played like Anubis at first. He has healing in his kit, and I think they might nerf that because at max rank he can heal for up to 115 health per target, so up to 3 targets. Unlike Hades, where Hades heal is not a whole lot, but like Hades, he needs to use both his 1 and his 2 to do that. With Hades, it's his 2 and his 3. So you can't just heal if you use your 2. You have to use your 1 and your 2. You're sacrificing something. So it would be better if they do not nerf his healing because this character doesn't have a lot going for him, to be honest. His 3 is too short range, so most of the time you have to be right next to someone to stun them, and that's the problem with it. If they can increase the range on his 3 or just rework it to be a line ability like his 1, he would be so much better. Because Zhong Kui has to be right in front of you to do anything, and with the nerf to combat blink where you can't use combat blink anymore, it has to be like regular blink. He has no way to get out, no movement speed, no escape. He's an all-in character, and because of the nerfs to his tankiness from his passive, you go all in and you will die easily. You have to go in team fights. You can never go in alone. He is not a threat when he's alone. And you have to build a lot of damage so you are a threat at all. If not, you would just feed the enemy the whole time. Here, you notice how I'm playing safe, staying in the back, trying to farm because early game, we don't do anything. We literally do not do anything. I got harassed by the enemy Ganesh and Janice throughout the game, so late game, let's just say it was personal, and I actually focused on the Ganesh. Nothing against Ganesh in general. It's just being CC'd the entire game is so frustrating. And when you get to late game and you can actually do something about it, you will do something about it. Karma. It's just how it is. So here we're trying to back and get our Bancroft online as soon as possible. I will not go for a starter item until the end of the game because on Zhong Kui the starters are basically worthless. Sands of Time will give you 10% CDR, which is not a whole lot because his cooldowns are very long. And in this game, if I did go cooldown, I would be sacrificing damage because he does not do enough damage without stacking items. And that's just the truth. I have tried running him with a cooldown build, and I did okay. I think the max I got was 6 kills, which is not carrying at all. But with a stacking build, you can get at least double digits because you actually do damage. So the character's flaws, he has to be right in front of you to do anything. His ult has the biggest range of all his abilities. His one is his poke, so you want to put like 2 points into that and then max out your 2 because you get more healing that way, more sustain. He doesn't have good mana usage because his abilities cost a lot of mana, which further supports you to stack Book of Thoth. That way you actually have mana for the game. His 3, like I said, you have to be right in front of them to use, so it's easier to use that in team fights where you're with your team and they can't just burst you down because after they're stunned for like half a second, now you've got nothing. You have no escape ability, no move speed, you're not tanky with your passive anymore, and the healing from your 2 will not save you from a whole wave of enemies trying to burst you down. And this is what I mean by getting CC throughout the entire game. Ganesh just focused on me, and I didn't like that very much because I'm not even that good of a mage as Zhong Kui. If I were like a Scylla, yeah, I get it, you're trying to lock me down. And Anubis, yeah, he does a ton of damage. A Hades, yeah, he has a lot of CC, does a ton of damage. But a Zhong Kui, he's this big plushie that will do damage at the end of the game if you build him right. Early game, mid game, he doesn't do anything. And I know I got a kill, but still, I got lucky because it was a team fight. Now, into Bancroft Talon, I'm waiting to get enough gold to get the glyph. In the meantime, we're just going to apply pressure and try to keep the lane on our side, to try to get rid of the enemy team's minions or creeps, whatever they're called. And yeah, it was a fun game actually because the enemy team didn't have Hercules. If they had Hercules, I would have been pulled under tower, CC'd and killed because my beads is down. Another thing I miss about Smite 1, shards. If you notice, I have the golden shard because it'll do AoE damage around the minions I hit, and that'll help me stack Book of Thoth faster. A little cheat code for those still playing Smite 1. But yeah, Golden Shard on Poseidon is really good in Smite 1 too. But back to the gameplay, we had an Arthur which peeled for me most of the time. Sylvanus did his best too. This match wasn't particularly competitive, so it was very chill, which is why I was able to do what I did. Because in a competitive match, the enemy team would have put a ward on the Juggernaut, and I would have been collapsed on by all 5 of them for trying to do this solo. But I did pull it off though, and we're taking advantage of the scroll that Zhong Kui has that does a little bit of damage. I believe it does half his basic damage, and it helps him clear a lane faster. With that and Golden Shard, we're able to stack Book of Thoth quicker, which is probably why people tried the auto attack build on him, because he has a scroll doing damage on the side. And that's another thing I'm gonna bring up about Smite and the transition to Smite 2. For example, Zeus, he didn't have a lot going for him in Smite, and I understand why they try to make him auto attack focused in Smite 2. To be honest, it makes sense because, I mean, as a mage, he doesn't do much. He needs more attack speed to stack his passive and use his 3. Now, for gods like Zeus and Zhong Kui, their only option is to do a lot of damage. This is the glyph system, and I chose the attack speed glyph. back to what I was saying about Zeus, their only option is to do a lot of damage because if you don't have crowd control, if the enemy team is on you, the only way you live is by doing a lot of damage to scare them away or get rid of them. That's your only way out. And in a situation where the god has been overly fine tuned, like there's nothing wrong with fine tuning a god, but when it's done so much, new players on them do not do well because they're fine tuned in a sense that pro players cannot abuse them, but then new players have a hard time learning them and getting good at them. It's gonna suck a lot for the first half, but once you do get good at them, you actually enjoy playing them. And this is what I'm saying about the Ganesh CCing me throughout the game. And yeah, I go straight for my ult because I want to scare the enemy team away. Another thing about Zhong Kui is his ult does not attack minions, which I think is like a flaw, but that's how he was designed in Smite 1. So when I go in and use my ult, the whole goal was that it would attack them and not help them get the Apophis Giant. I get rid of Ganesh because Karma, that was very personal for me. I just did not like being CC'd a lot. That's the truth. And with only beads and no Aegis, because I'm trying to stack book, which I actually completed and I did not notice. So we'll get rid of golden shards soon enough. I probably need penetration and move speed because this character is very slow. He's a lot like Zeus. He does not have move speed. He does not have crowd control besides his 3. His 3 is like half a second stun. And if they're marked with your 1 and you stun them, it's longer, like a full second. So he does have some CC, but then you're sacrificing healing. And then when you use your 2 after stunning them with your 1-3 combo, you don't heal. So there's a lot of give and take to this character. You have to be calculating. You have to have the right placement. If you're out of position once, you will die. And already he's at a disadvantage. So my predictions for his aspect is most likely they will let him be an auto attacker like Zeus. It just makes sense because he has a scroll that does half his damage. You can see that ticking towards the Ganesh as I'm trying to focus him, and I do get the kill because karma. Besides that, they might try to give his 2 some kind of support aspect where instead of healing him, it heals his entire team, and then he just has to find a way to survive or go for a support starter. That way, he still heals from getting rid of the minion wave. But the predictions for him are not very versatile. Like he's either gonna be a support aspect or an auto attack aspect where instead of healing it gives him more attack speed, or instead of his 3 stunning it gives him attack speed when he pops his 3 like an attack speed stem, making it a whole new ability. And to me that would be way more useful than his 3 currently is because I have to be right in front of Thor to use my stun. And in some parts of this video you will see me literally miss my stun by a whiff, like just barely in range of it because you have to be right in front of him. And his cooldowns are so long, like I'm not even kidding, they're very long. So unless you're building cooldown, you're just not going to have abilities for a long time, which further supports people building auto attack. And I get do more because it gives pen and it gives movement speed. I'm trying to be faster. I had to choose between getting Divine Ruin here for Amaterasu and Chiron, who has healing in his kit, and getting Spear of the Magus, which gave 95 power. Doomorp gave 95 power. So for the cheesy build I was going for, honestly, I decided to go more damage instead of anti-heal. Hear me out. But building a lot of power into Archmage's Gem, which in Smite 1 gives 120 magical power. And it has this passive where every second it builds off a stack of Demise, which will do 1.5% of your magical damage as true damage. Late game with a full build, I believe I did about 300 damage as true damage. Add this with a fully stacked Book of Stealth, Doom Orb, Spear of the Magus, and you're hitting really hard. You're relevant. Like, they can't just ignore you. I think this build would also work well on Zeus in Smite 1. On Hades, you would go the other, excuse me, you would go the other glyph for Bancroft Talon, not the attack speed one, but the one that gives a little shield. And with that, initiating with your 1 should do a lot of damage. You do your full combo with your 2 into your 3 and ult, and you will be hitting hard. But I completely forgot that Archmages in Smite 1 gives that much magical power. Here, I'm trying to peel from my teammate, trying to save Sylvanus, but he says save yourself because he knows he's done for. The entire enemy team is on him, and he doesn't have much movement speed. That's another thing about Smite 1, the limitations of certain gods that didn't get mobility. So in their situation, their only option is to do a lot of damage. Because if you're ever caught out of place, out of position, it's over for you. You just have to do damage. You don't have the option of like exploring new build options, and that was the limitation in Smite 1. Hopefully in Smite 2 they find a way around this. I would be perfectly fine with them reworking his 3 to do something else, but his 1 and 2 are fine. His 3, give him like a mobility like move or something, an ability that helps him get far away. Don't give him movement speed just for stunning people because that's not going to do much unless it's a lot of movement speed. Give him like a teleport, a dash, something. Just make him feel safer, but that's your choice. You're the one designing the game, and I mean Hi-Res is the one designing the game, not me. And here I get Spirit of the Magus. I was tempted to go for cooldown or Rada Tahuti so I could do even more damage, but I did the math and it's just getting that 120 damage would still be the same I'm getting from Rada Tahuti, and the glyph from Rada Tahuti would have given me the meteorite, which would still do more damage. However, I wanted the oh yeah, Ganesh just had to die. I wanted to commit to the build and get the Archmage's gem for that 120 power and true damage, because even with Rada Tahuti, some of the damage you do might be mitigated. Like Prophetic exists, Oni Hunter's Garb exists, and getting true damage would feel more satisfying, especially against a tank like Ganesh after what he did the entire game. No offense. Predictions for this god. Honestly, he's either gonna be auto attack focused, probably will be auto attack focused. Even as a mage, people will do what I'm doing here, where they will use Nimble Ring to try and get attack speed. He doesn't have much safety. His 1 and his 2 are his main combo. You will barely use his 3 unless you're like in a team fight, because even if you walked up to someone and try to use a 3, they're stunned for half a second and now they're just gonna hit you with everything. It doesn't do much for you. In some games, I actually don't even level up the 3 until I'm like level 7. I secure Apophis here before Janus can ult. But yeah, it's like, it does damage, his 3 does damage, but it feels useless unless you're in a team fight and you have your team with you, because even if you use your 3, you're still surrounded. Now you have nothing else. Your only option is do damage or die. That's it. So I would like to see him less limited than he is in Smite 1, like they did for Ra, where they gave him an aspect that completely changed the way you play him. And I would be perfectly fine with them simply reworking the 3 to not be a stun anymore, but be a dash. Like a dash into a knock-up would be good. That way you can initiate with your 3, pop your ult, use your 1 and your 2, instead of having to rely on blink every single time. Here I don't have blink, so I literally have to walk up to people, which is another thing that's limiting the character. And yes, I could have gone blink, but then I'm stuck in the middle of the entire enemy team with a half a second stun, and they're just gonna collapse on me, so I had to go shell. You just don't have much options. The predictions for this character will be auto attack or healer passive. That's what I genuinely think. But I will genuinely, I say genuinely a lot, I recommend Hi-Res reworking his 3. Here you see the damage output that I have with Archmage's gem, and I'm able to get 1 kill, but I'm quickly taken down. 7 and 2, so I'm not feeding, and oof, Janus hits hard. I'm not feeding, and I'm relevant in the game, so I'm doing better than the Hunter, even though I'm not top damage yet. But I will be based on this build because, let's face it, I have like 3 items with 95 power, actually 2 items with 95 power, and 1 item with 120 power. That much damage, especially once I put in a few red pots and 500 pots, I will be hitting hard. The damage cap the power cap for mages in Smite 1 is 900 power. And with a red pot and a 500 pot with this build, I should be over the 900 limit. I should be at like 1,000. And with that, the passive from Archmage's Gem should proc about 300 true damage. So we're getting there. It just takes a little bit of time and a lot of patience. This build is good for casual games. For Conquest, I recommend getting just a little bit of cooldown because having to wait forever to use your ult is just not fun. And team fights require ultimates, especially big circles. This is why Poseidon is really good. This is why Hades is really good. If you have a big circle that does damage in a team fight, you will do well. Chalk, same thing. Just a big circle that can hit everyone, so you're doing a lot of damage to a lot of people at once, and then your assassins can just pick off whoever is left because assassins do a million damage. Like, if you think this build is disgusting, literally play any assassin. You will out damage me, regardless of what you're building. Also, another thing, Thor. Thor is basically a physical version of Nox. I will argue with anyone about this in the comments. It's the same thing. Nox 2-1 combo. Thor 2-1 combo. You wall, you do your one, you do damage, that's it. Nox is a little safer than Thor, but Thor is just a physical version of Nox. So anyone who's okay with Thor but doesn't like Nox, evaluate your life choices. Here, my teammates said attack middle lane, so I go for it, and they were nowhere to be seen. And then they're trying to ping that I should come in after I just soloed Apophis. So I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what they want to do, but I go in anyways because I'm a team player. I do my best to secure one kill, but I couldn't quite reach them. And actually, I did reach them. And now I just couldn't finish it because I have no prots. I do decent damage because I stacked the entire game. If I went cooldown builds with like Chronos Pendant and Spear of the Magus, I would not do this much damage. That is the truth. Another thing I miss from Smite 1 is Bankrupt's Talon, which I got after, not Bankrupt's Talon, Typhon's Fang. The passive where it gives you increased lifesteal. It also gives you penetration, 20% penetration, which is not in Smite 2. And I understand why they did that because Anubis would be broken if he had 20% penetration every time he gets his necessary item. Hades, same thing. However, the fact that it does the same 55, it gives the same 55 power as 55 intelligence and just the same passive without the penetration makes the item feel lackluster. It's worse than it was in Smite 1. But to each their own, they probably have a reason for doing what they did. Hopefully they have a reason for doing what they did. Another team fight breaking out in the enemy jungle. Because we're in the enemy jungle, I'm going to be cautious. I still want to kill Ganesh because karma. I'm looking out for the enemy Thor because I cannot survive his wall hammer combo. Once he does that, does his little ballerina dance, I'm dead. Like, I only have like 2100 health or 2150. So I'm letting my teammates peel for me and going in when it's safe to do damage. Besides that, I'm onked, but it wouldn't save him. I actually went in on Thor because it was Sylvanus and I against him. Sylvanus has crowd control, and that would help us take him down. My stun only lasted for half a second, so once again, the stun is basically useless. You can only play this character when you're not alone, when you have your team with you. I'm currently at 11 and 2, and we keep the game going. Half a second stun, and then running away. I'm getting punished by Contagion, but I don't mind because it barely does any damage. Still going in, and we secure the win. And like I said, I did really well in this game. 11 kills, 2 deaths, 8 assists, and I think I was top damage at the end of it because we were overcapped in power, and we certainly had a good time. Those are my predictions for Zhong Kui. I really hope they rework his 3. Giving it a longer stun period does not do much for him. Give him mobility because he's going to be squishy, and he would get burst down by literally anyone. A little more mobility on Zhong Kui would go a long way, in my opinion. But it is what it is. To each their own. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think it would be broken if he had a dash into a knockup? That would be way more useful than his stun currently is, in my opinion. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Try to build. Let me know what you think. Have a good day. Stay happy.